And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a truly fantastic day today on this Monday. And today we are going to go ahead and get to the super thanks. Sincerely thank everyone who gave super thanks last week. And as always, the title of the video comes from one of the super thanks. Shout out to @SnugChamberlain9986. And first up, let's go ahead and get into this. Shout out to @MichaelSilberg9059. This comes from my Dominique Wilkins says today's players are afraid to find out who is actually best. And he comes through with the $5 super thanks and he says, this is Adam Silver's league. Adam Silver has decided to make it impossible to really find out who's the best, even if they wanted to. Adam Silver has falsely propped up LeBron James and prevented true competition in the NBA, and this is facts. Again, you know, on this channel, we talk about so much how LeBron James has ruined the NBA, and this is true. But again, we can't ignore the fact that at the very top of it all is Adam Silver. You're like, LeBron James has only done what Adam Silver has allowed him to do. Now, we still blame LeBron James as a competitor because, well, he's not a competitor. He's chose not to compete. And that is his own personal decisions. But at the end of the day, Adam Silver has made it his business to prioritize the players' feelings versus making sure the players are actually doing their job. This is where we're at. And, you know, thus the NBA being unwatchable. But anyway, shout out to @MichaelSilberg9059. Thank you so much for your continued support of the channel. And next up, this comes from my Kwame Brown. Tells about the dangers of load management. And shout out to @G-Noel or No Loads 310. And he comes through with the $10 super thanks. He said, these players and fans nowadays only see and recognize highlights. Doing a lot of unnecessary moves equates to more skill. Wrong. Their IQ or lack thereof won't allow them to grasp the team concept. Big men shooting threes is not needed when the guards are shooting so many. Somebody needs to be down low and bring the balance. There are no more role players and specialists. That's why the game is so unwatchable. It lacks the team aspect and harmony. Plus, there is no competition. I like scoring just as much as the next man, but I don't want it to look as if you are letting them score. Shout out to @G-No-Loads 310. Yeah, this is 100% facts. And he brought up a good point. You know, we talk about the absence of true role players in today's league. And he says big men shooting threes is not needed when the guards are shooting so many. This is facts. And this is, you know, another angle on this whole lack of role players, and that is it is actually taking away potential scoring options. Again, this is something that they don't talk about. When they talk about today's modern player being so much more skilled, this is basically what it is everybody is functioning like a shooting guard, right? This is basically everybody is like a shooting guard / point guard. Everybody is looking to score and pretty much do the same things. This is actually taking away options, and not only is it taking away options, but it is also a reflection that there are skills missing from today's league. You know, the big men who can play in the post, that is a skill that in general people don't have today. And even the ones that have it definitely don't have it like players of the past used to have it. So again, that's taking away an option for scoring. Because at the end of the day, again, I've said this before, it doesn't matter how much better these players are at shooting. The further you get away from the basket, the more inconsistent the shot. That is true from the beginning of basketball, and it will be true until the end of time. The further away you get from the basket, the more variables can happen in between your shot and the rim. And so, and this is why, again, we see so many blowouts today, is because, okay, if you're hot from three, that's wonderful. But what happens is one team will be hot from three, and instead of the other team simply trying to stay in the game by, hey, we're not hot. Matter of fact, we're cold from three, so let's keep shooting some twos, and at least we can stay in the game. We probably can stay within, 10 to 15 points and make a fourth quarter run, But that's not what happens. One team is hot, the other team simply starts trying to match them 3 for 3, and the other team is cold, and they just shoot themselves out of the game. and again, because you don't have big men who normally who can get you a much higher percentage shot, but normally, because due to the nature of playing in the post, they can normally either get a higher percentage shot or get to the foul line. Because you don't have big men doing that, it just, like I said, that's a one less option that you have to try to score. And again, this is why we see so many blowouts, and this is why this whole narrative about more skilled is completely false. They're only more skilled in one specific way. But again, I would even argue that they're not really more skilled in that specific way, just due to the fact that there's no real defense being played. Again, you can't tell me someone is a better shooter unless they're shooting under the same circumstances as the players of the past. But yeah, shout out to you for this $10 super thanks. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And next up, shout out to @G, the great one. This is coming from my Gilbert Arenas, says Michael Jordan is only relevant because LeBron. That's believable, right? We all believe that. Right? We all believe that the only reason Michael Jordan, the person who would be relevant, even if we never talked about him playing basketball again, simply because of the Jordan brand, we all believe that the only reason this guy is relevant is because of the guy who keeps begging for respect. Yeah, okay. But anyway, shout out to @G, the great one, comes through with the $2 super thanks. He says, I've come to the conclusion that Gilbert Arenas says things like this just to get a reaction from you. Sports and fitness rants, angry old hoops, and the rest of the crew. Agent Zero was the right nickname for him because he makes 0 sense. Gilbert is only relevant because he can't keep Jordan's name out of his mouth. If all of these sports analysts stopped mentioning Jordan, they would no longer be relevant. They would love to talk about their boo LeBron and only LeBron, but that doesn't move the needle of engagement enough. At this point, there is nothing Unclutch Sports won't do. The worst is yet to come from them. They are probably trying to pay Juanita and Marcus Jordan to say something negative about MJ as we speak. The whole Unclutch crew has no morals or respect for anything or anyone who doesn't bow to their king. They are a plague. I am so happy we were able to grow up in the 90s and see MJ with our own eyes. Unclutch can never fool us. Shout out to @G, the great one. I don't think there's ever been a thing truer said. Yeah, you are absolutely correct. I mean, people like Gilbert Arenas, people like Nick Wright, they pretty make their whole living off of saying outrageous things about Michael Jordan. And this is what gets them the engagement. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, for those of us who grew up in the 90s, again, it's one of those things when you try to explain it to someone who didn't grow up in that time, There's no possible way for them to actually fathom, for them to visualize what we're talking about, for them to really understand. And to be fair, let me be fair. For the kids growing up in today, and they grew up on LeBron, and for the kids growing up on who's coming up, who's going to grow up on Anthony Edwards and some of these other players, they probably think that these players have had, well, let's not mention Anthony Edwards. He's still coming up, but I'm imagining that it's gonna be the same for him. But for the kids who grew up watching LeBron, they probably think that LeBron has that same kind of impact, because especially with social media, there's plenty of content about LeBron. There's the fanboys who make a living with sore knees, so to speak. And then there's, people like myself and Sports and Fitness Rants, Angry Old Hoops, Michael Jordan, the fans of the best, Phenomenal Fitness, and other people who are on here combating the narratives of LeBron. So there's plenty of content of LeBron. So for kids growing up today, they probably really think that, hey, LeBron is popular, even if it's negative stuff. You're saying his name all the time. But to actually try to explain to a kid who didn't grow up during that time, or any person who didn't grow up during that time, what the 90s was really like in terms of basketball culture. I've tried to do it, and one of my first videos on this channel was talking about just that. And I've been thinking about trying to do another video similar. But, that video was me just giving my thoughts about the 90s and what it was like growing up. And I've been thinking about trying to do a more in-depth video. But to really explain to someone what that time period was like, and to really try to get someone to understand that basketball was like part of American culture. It was part of every facet of culture. It doesn't matter what walk of life you came from. You knew about Michael Jordan. Chances are, you were playing basketball a whole lot. It didn't matter where you came from. From the poorest to the richest community. When we would go to the courts, there were courts, there was a mixture of people. There were courts that were all hood. There were courts that were mostly the rich kids, but everybody was playing basketball all the time. And it's really hard to explain that to someone who didn't grow up during that time. But yeah, we were very lucky to grow up during that era. And I would say not just the era of Michael Jordan, but that was kind of like the era, to me, of greatness in a lot of different ways for a lot of different reasons. Even when you're talking about, people like Mike Tyson, even when you're talking about artists like Tupac, I feel like we grew up in a very influential time, in a time period that really had a major effect on everything. But anyway, shout out to @G the Great One. Thanks so much for the $2 super thanks. Thanks so much for your continued support of the channel. And next up, shout out to @CP-YX4CI. And this comes from my Why is LeBron James constantly crowning himself video? He comes through with the $6 super thanks. He says, man, this video of yours reminds me of my father. I remember when I tried to offer him a slightly different opinion of mine, he quickly shut me down or throw a tantrum like a 3-year-old to his adult kid. I can never forget those embarrassing times. I'm not going to speak on that personal situation, but, I will say, this is just kind of in general, the attitude of people who support LeBron James. The attitude of people who support LeBron James is that you cannot have any criticism for him. Any criticism at all, is taken as some form of hate. And, and it's funny because, you fanboys who get in my videos and you guys never comment on the topic of the video. I mean, never comment on the topic of the video. You always just go to some ad hominem type stuff. You always just go to some insults and you're hating, or you go through to talking about non-basketball related stuff. Oh man, he's a great father and he's never been in trouble and he's this and that. It's like, can you please answer my points? Can you please shut up long enough to watch the video, and then if you're gonna respond, actually respond to the points that I make in the video. That would be nice. But we know you guys are operating on the lower form of intelligence, so keep being entertainment for us. And last but not least, and this is where the title of the video comes from, and this is coming from my Why is LeBron James constantly crowning himself? Shout out to @Snug Chamberlain 9986, comes through with the $2 super thanks. He says, thanks my guy. Great content and perspective. Shout out to you and other content creators sharing honest takes. I've got 3 points I'd like your insight on. Says, number 1, obviously you have covered the LeBron James celebrations and antics and how they look unnatural, especially when he's screaming. I want to ask you about Michael Jordan's celebration, particularly the fist pump he did in the 1997 NBA Finals against the Utah Jazz, where he hit the first game winner over Brian Russell. Why do you think MJ was so calm after hitting that shot? Do you think he knew it was going in, or do you think this is a testament to how hard MJ practiced for moments like that? It really looked effortless. What do you think? Hey, fanboys, have a seat for a minute. Have a seat for just a minute. I want to talk to you about your king before I answer this question. LeBron James is 40 years old and still beating his chest and doing all the ridiculous things. By Michael Jordan's second three-peat, you will notice a difference in how he's celebrating. And, his celebrations became a lot less energetic. And this is because I think part of it is what you were saying about, how hard MJ practiced. He practiced for moments like this. I think MJ thrived in moments like this, which is, I still think it's even another difference between him and Kobe. And I've said this before, is I think MJ actually thrives in clutch moments where Kobe, I think he wanted them. I don't think he was afraid of them. But I think it's a difference between not being afraid of the clutch moments and you coming to a heightened sense of everything during the clutch moments because you really live for those moments. And I think Michael Jordan actually lived for those moments. Like, these are the moments he wanted. Like, he wanted to take them. And again, not saying Kobe Bryant didn't want the last shot. Kobe Bryant absolutely wanted the last shot. Kobe Bryant absolutely was not afraid of the last shot at all. But, for those of you who understand what I'm trying to say, like I said, to me, it's a difference between not being afraid and not being afraid of a situation and actually thriving in the situation. I think Michael Jordan thrived in those clutch moments. But outside of that, I also think it's because Michael Jordan was the kind of person who was just always looking for the next challenge. And Michael Jordan said over and over again, when he ran out of challenges pretty much is when he would leave the game of basketball. And so, to me, Michael Jordan got to the point to where clutch situations weren't actually a challenge. He was so comfortable with them. And to me, that's the explanation of why it was such a mild celebration particularly during the second three-peat. I would say definitely during the last 2 years of his career. You know, you see him hit a game winner, and it was pretty much just a calm fist pump, and that was it. You know, no extra screaming or jumping in the air. It was just like, you know, yeah, I got it. I did it again. Okay. You know, I expected to do this. Yeah, I think I think it's just that thing that kept Michael Jordan motivated was the next challenge. So I think because hitting game winners really kind of stopped being a challenge for him. You know, it stopped being a challenge for him as far as maintaining a certain mental focus. It stopped being a challenge for him as far as whether he could do it or not, as far as him having to prove something. Like, he got to the point to where he knew he could do it. He knew he could get off a good shot. You know, one of the things Kwame Brown criticized LeBron James for is not having a go-to move or not having spots to just get to. And if you look at that shot he hit over Byron Russell, like, it was pretty much just a couple of dribbles to the left, pull up, and sunk it. And if you look at him shoot it almost looked like Byron Russell might as well not have even been there. I mean, it looked like something he was probably practicing in a gym, right? It looked that natural, that comfortable. So I think he just got so comfortable with not only getting the shot off of game winners, but staying in that mindset, that poised mindset, that it just really just became no big deal for him at all to do that. And he probably felt like he could do that, you know, 100 out of 100 times, you know. And last but not least, like I said, going back to the whole challenge thing, you know, we know this is the reason Michael Jordan came back. And what was it, 2001? You know, he said he had to scratch the itch. And one of the things he said was that he wanted to see if he could compete against the younger talent. Like, he still felt like he could compete. Now, this is 39-year-old Michael Jordan, you know, still felt like he could compete against the younger talent. And, you know, I truly believe that had he not got injured that first year, had he not torn his meniscus, I really believe that, especially probably by that second year, we would have probably been saying Michael Jordan very similar to when he retired in 1998. Again, athleticism would have went down some more. However, you know, he was so smart about the game at that point that, you know, we were still seeing 40 and 50-point game from him. You know, it was just not as consistent as we were used to seeing. But again, I believe this is simply because of the injury to me. But yeah, to me, you know, Michael Jordan was just always about overcoming challenges, and that's what drove him. And I think it got to the point to where game winners weren't a challenge. That was something he felt he mastered, which is why LeBron James still celebrates every single thing he does, because he hadn't mastered anything. LeBron James inside knows he hadn't mastered anything. I would... That would be very curious. I mean, I know he would say he's mastered if he was asked in an interview. Well, you know, I'm the best in the world, so that's just how I feel. You know, I'm a master at everything. I know he would say that, but I would really be curious to know if deep down inside he felt he was a master at anything. Because when I think about LeBron James, you know, he gets a lot of credit for bulldozing his way to the hoop, but I would almost say he's not even a master at that. But especially as far as any other basketball skills, I can't think of anything, and please drop it in the comments if I'm wrong. If you can think of anything except stiff arming his way to the basket that he's a master at, I would really love to know. I can't think of anything, from shooting to defense, you know, to handles, to, you know, having certain spots on the court that you know that he's a bucket from. I can't really think of anything in particular that when I watch him, I'm like, oh, man, he's got that down. Like this is no big deal for him. Everything always seems like it's a major effort for him to do anything. But anyway, let's move on to the next one. He says, second, what do you think hurt LeBron James the most to the point where he could never be looked at in the same light as other greats? Was it walking off the court early in 2000 after being swept by the Celtics, or was it forming the super teams with Wade and Bosh, or was it the whole JJ Ridiculous and Bronny James hiring? What do you think hurt him most? Well, if I'm being honest, I think him leaving Cleveland the first time is pretty much what turned a bunch of fans off and immediately kind of put him into a position to where he could never be looked at the same way again, especially if you're talking about the Michael Jordan comparison. To me, that died the day he decided to leave Cleveland. Because again, LeBron James really came into a situation similar as Michael Jordan. You know, a lot of other greats who had championship runs, they actually came onto a team that wasn't that bad, you know, or that was actually really, really good. If you're talking about Magic Johnson, even if you're talking about Larry Bird, I think if the team wasn't that great when he first got there, I'm pretty sure within a couple of years is when they had got Parrish and a couple of other players. So, you know, I had to go back and double check that. But a lot of players who got championships, Tim Duncan, you know, they came onto situations that really weren't that bad. But LeBron James had a chance to turn a terrible franchise into a dynasty, or at least a respectable franchise. And he abandoned that. So for me, when he did that, I think that's when the majority of fans were kind of turned off. And ever since then, he's just been adding to it. I don't think there's one thing, you know, I've kind of talked about the things for me that kind of, what am I trying to say? I talked about the things that for me were kind of some definitive moments where I was like, even after him leaving Cleveland, when he was in Miami and he flopped and he looked into the camera and winked. To me, that really made me look at him like, oh, you're a coward. Like, you're just a punk. Like, you are literally trying to fool the refs like this. Like, I can't have any respect for that. And then, like I said, the whole thing, the J.R. Smith debacle, you know, when J.R. Smith made the blunder and LeBron James over there throwing a temper tantrum, wouldn't look at J.R. Smith, wouldn't sit with the rest of the team, wasn't being a leader. You know, right then when that was a wrap for me. I was like, I don't care anything else about what this guy does in his career. Like, this guy has shown that his whole career has been a fallacy. Like, he is nothing that everybody is trying to make him out to be. He is simply someone who had a lot of talent that didn't maximize his talent. You know, he formed super teams to get where he is. He's always making excuses. You know, he's not a great leader. And so, yeah, when that J.R. Smith thing happened, to me, that was just like the last straw for me. But yeah, I don't know if I think him leaving Cleveland is when most people kind of start turning away from LeBron. And ever since then, he's just been adding on to it. And I will say this, LeBron James apparently is the GOAT of being disliked because he's done a fantastic job of being very unaware of himself and very unaware, seemingly, that these antics are not working for his benefit. But anyway, said lastly, the 2017 and 18 finals, which featured the Warriors and Cavs, both teams were super teams to me, and some tried to make it seem as if the Warriors were somehow much more powerful because KD outplayed LeBron James. LeBron James was a coward. He wouldn't even take the challenge to guard Durant. He left Richard Jefferson on an island to be cooked all series. My question is, do you think both teams were evenly matched, or do you think the Warriors were just too much? Do you think it was a winnable series for the Cavs in either year? I think replace LeBron James with Michael Jordan, and they would have definitely won. I mean, here's the thing. I believe that they were very evenly matched. I mean, you had Bron, Kyrie, and Kevin Love, and you had J.R. Smith on that team. What, Tristan Thompson, and of course you had Steph, Clay, and Durant, and Draymond, and Iguodala, and if you're just looking at it, even from a points comparable, it was like, I believe the Golden State Big Three for the season averaged like 72 points between the three of them. The Cleveland Cavaliers Big Three averaged like 70 points between the three of them. So as far as the Big Three firepower, to me, they were very evenly matched. But even if you want to go down and say that, like, having Draymond and Iguodala may have given them a defensive edge, my thing is LeBron James is supposed to be the GOAT. The deer is supposed to be the GOAT. So, again, to me, is they have to pick one or the other. It's like, is this guy as good as you've been saying he is, or is he just an average superstar with the rest of the average superstars? Is he supposed to be this super phenomenal person who you're trying to compare to Michael Jordan, put above everyone else? Then it's no way you can say that they were outmatched just because they added Kevin Durant to the team. Not if the deer is the GOAT. And so, yeah, I definitely think it should have been a winnable series. For someone who they've been propping up for as long as they have, for someone who props up himself, for someone who just the year before said that one right there made me the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Well, what are we talking about? It definitely was a winnable series. It only wasn't winnable. And see here, I'm gonna say this one last thing before we end this video. Here's the thing with you fanboys and your deer, your fake GOAT, your fainting GOAT, it is not GOAT behavior to not believe in yourself. LeBron James, on so many instances, has basically admitted defeat or admitted he was outmatched. I have never heard Michael Jordan say that he was outmatched by anyone. Not the Boston Celtics, not the Pistons. Michael Jordan has never talked about how much talent was on the other team. He just simply congratulated them, hey, you beat us. Because he didn't think that he should lose, no matter who was on the team. Again, going back to those, especially by 1998, the Utah Jazz was favored in that matchup. Pippen was on the decline. Pippen had the back injury. Rodman was on the decline. Michael Jordan was literally carrying that team. It's the oldest team in the history of the NBA to win a championship. Remember that, fanboys. The Jazz was favored. They were talking about, I'm pretty sure that's the same season where MJ had to let them know that he wasn't Shaq. I think the Jazz had X'd out the Lakers with Shaquille O'Neal, and Michael Jordan said, I ain't Shaq. Michael Jordan did not care who you had on your team. He never thought he was outmatched. We've seen LeBron basically admit this several times. Basically talk about how much talent the other team had compared to him. That is not GOAT talk. It's plain and simple. But anyway, we gonna hold up here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about any of the topics we covered today. But especially about this 2017-18 finals. Do you guys think that LeBron was actually outmatched, or do you think that this was a very even season, series, and more so, if LeBron James was supposed to be that guy, to me, the Cavs were supposed to be favorite in that. If LeBron James is that guy, people keep on talking about that the Bulls were always the favorite. This is not actually the case. They definitely weren't favored against the Lakers. They definitely weren't favored in that last season against Utah Jazz. But in general, the Bulls were only ever favored because of Michael Jordan. This is why the Bulls were favored. Because of one person who everyone knew would do everything in his willpower to make sure that they don't lose. This is what everybody knew about Michael Jordan. This is why everyone gravitated towards Michael Jordan, is because they knew that there was no quit in this guy, ever. He didn't know how. Again, Michael Jordan quoted as saying, "I never lost, I only ran out of time." But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. You all have a truly, truly fantastic day today, and I'll see you next time.